From the plains to the rolling hills, Oklahoma is a state that resonates with stories of resilience, determination, and pride. Welcome to Inside the 1581, a podcast of the Oklahoma Hospital Association. Together, we'll dive deep into the heartbeat of the great state of Oklahoma as we journey through the rich history, diverse culture, and the ever-evolving landscape within the 1,581 miles of border in our nation's 20th largest state. Each episode of Inside the 1581 will feature conversations with the many voices which help shape our state's future and our shared vision of improving health and healthcare in Oklahoma.
Thank you for joining us for another edition of Inside the 1581. I'm Rich Rasmussen, President and CEO of the Oklahoma Hospital Association, and this is our first podcast for 2026, and we do appreciate those of you who have been longtime listeners. You know, just to remind you, if you are new, folks often ask us, what does Inside the 1581 mean? And I have John Armitage here, who's the President and CEO of One Blood Institute. So, John, I thought I'd share with you, because I get this question all the time. What does Inside the 1581 mean? So we were spitballing, what do we call our podcast? And we just kind of stumbled on the fact that we have 1,581 miles of border in the state of Oklahoma. So wow. Hence came Inside the 1581. So that's what we call our podcast. And we try to take time to focus in on issues that folks might find interesting. And certainly when we talk about blood, there's no other better place to go than our Blood Institute here. And so we're delighted to have you here. You are the CEO of our Blood Institute, the nation's 7th largest independent blood center with 17 donor centers across Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Texas.
That is true, and thank you for having me on a subject that touches everybody. We all have blood.
And we need it, and especially with this weekend coming up, this will probably drop after the snowstorm, but my grandparents would say this is when you find out if you have thin blood or not, when it's cold outside.
We take all types.
There you go. There you go. So, John, just to get to know you a little bit, you got your medical degree from Duke University, so you're an ACC guy.
I grew up in North Carolina, so
okay.
I shouldn't say this out loud, but I followed the Tar Heels.
Oh, well, that's okay. I mean, you're still North Carolina,
yep.
And I think Duke had their quarterback stolen away from them, by University of Miami. I'm a Florida State fan.
Okay.
And it's kind of heresy in Oklahoma because for so many years you had this competition between OU and FSU. So you completed your clinical pathology training at UT Southwestern in Dallas. You are a lifelong blood donor. You've donated whole blood, red blood, platelets more than 150 times and helps organize quarterly blood drives at your Oklahoma City church. How have you ever quantified how much you've actually donated?
Not really.
You don't have that one that says 10-gallon donator or something like that?
No, I always know more is the answer.
Okay. Okay.
I've done some walking of the walk, but the journey goes on.
Very good. Well, it's been since I moved here, relocated, I haven't donated. So it's an opportunity for me now to reengage again. I have B negative is my blood.
Oh, we want you down as soon as you can. We got Nutter Butters for you. We'll make
Nutter Butters. Nutter Butters. Those are my favorite. Nutter Butters, and I have to have Nutter Butters now at my age with Diet Dr. Pepper instead of regular Dr. Pepper. Yeah. So, John, thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about our Blood Institute, and then we'll kind of get into some questions because I think we're in a critical shortage period right now, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But tell us about the Institute.
Yeah, I think the Institute is something that all Oklahomans can be very proud of. 7th largest independent collector in the United States is a big accomplishment in terms of an altruistic mission really taking root and blossoming here. We're talking about over 1,000 employees. We're a major endeavor. We're the largest biotech firm in the state, and we're also a huge contributor in terms of cutting edge medical care being collaborated with the hospitals and an economic driver. But fundamentally, it's good-hearted people getting together and solving a problem. 50 years ago, through the County Medical Society, actually, they helped birth us along with a few other medical societies around the state. So very much ingrained in the need locally, and then just took our great-hearted donors and our hopefully some business acumen, and grew that up to be 7th largest.
And so you're a not-for-profit too, right? So I think it's important for listeners to understand when you're a not-for-profit, you don't have shareholders, you have stakeholders. And we're all stakeholders in this.
Yeah, we absolutely have stakeholders. We're a $150 million operation. Some people approach us about, well, I give the blood, why can't you give it for free? And the blood is free. Unfortunately, we get charged for the bags that they belong in, they get delivered in, and the electricity and the gasoline needed to run the operation. And we couldn't do that on a voluntary contribution. So the hospitals, they share with us the extraction of the revenue to make it all work. So we partner with them in a way that's essential utility for the care, and it's a big operation. It's the largest pharmaceutical in the state, and it's a vital product that we're blessed to have such great partners in our hospitals to team with.
So when you collect it, do you guys retain it? Do you store it, or is that stored in hospitals, or how does, I'm just curious how that works. Okay.
Yeah, it's a hub and spoke thing.
So real-time delivery too. I mean, we're working so that we're not keeping stuff on the shelf for very long, so it's really the freshest of the blood that you can receive.
You could be reading my lines
here.
Okay. It's absolutely, it's a dance. We have a lot of rural hospitals, which is a unique challenge, and to keep blood on their inventory, bring it back and still be used in our major metropolitan trauma centers. It's a coordination that we rely on everybody to do their part with stewardship. But blood is kept close to the action. It needs to be available at hand when somebody comes into the ER or, that it's needed in a surgery. So there's stocks in all our hospitals. But then there's primary locations we distribute from that have a little bit of centralized resource if we need to deploy from there.
And all that's cost. So, I mean, back to the original, comment that you made is that it does take, considerable enterprise to be able to make sure that we have distribution across the state.
You hit on it. We don't have owners. We're very tight margin nonprofit, as we should be. We're one of the best models going in pharmaceuticals. I would challenge anybody to find an essential drug that is delivered with the reliability that we do provide it on a basis of voluntary donation. A very unreliable, we can't mine for it.
Sure.
We have to inspire people to give. And I think we do a tremendous job and really are an example of how you can deliver top-notch health care in a way that's community-based and makes everybody, all our stakeholders, part of a game that's really about saving lives and doing it in a very efficient fashion.
And when we talk about saving lives, here we are. I think the Red Cross just announced that we're in a critical blood shortage nationwide. I think they said we had a 35% dip in our overall inventories across the country. Kind of give us an update of where we are here in Oklahoma. I would assume with the growth of flu that contributes to part of this. Certainly, there are probably other challenges that inhibit our ability to collect as much as we'd like to. So kind of give us a snapshot of where we are today and how Oklahoma fits into this national critical supply shortage.
Yeah, I think there are short-term and long-term forces at play here. Short-term, we're in a good spot because we went on an appeal about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, and Oklahomans are tremendous in responding. When we ask for help, one of the most gratifying things about our mission is people still respond to it. We were able to go from a 2,000 unit inventory on the shelf and get up to our comfort level of 5,000 plus units, all because people heard the call to action and they responded to it. So in the short term, we had a dip that's related to holidays, as you mentioned,
Sure.
Flu, people being busy, schools being closed. If you want to think good thoughts about the next generation, know that about 20% of our blood supply comes from high schoolers, idealistic folks who also want to get out of class. They like the T-shirts.
And they get a Nutter Butter.
They like the Nutter Butters
can't
or
go wrong.
Oreos.
Or Oreos.
Like Oreos.
Yeah,
But,
if they're a return customer, then maybe they get both.
Yeah, there you go. Upsize it. But the ability for us to long-term adapt post-COVID is probably the biggest issue. And one of the things that I think your listeners need to be aware of, we were built on the greatest generation. Actually, World War II was the source of American blood banking taking off. physicians went to the war, they saw the life-saving plasma and even red cells back then being given, and they brought that home. And then we exploded the world of donation. It was cutting edge back then. And we're blessed with the best blood supply in the world. However, it's dependent on volunteers to come in and give. And while the older generation just did that as part of maybe the war effort or part of the post-war boom and all this cutting-edge medicine and saving lives in surgery and saving lives in trauma care, that story is now an old story, and we have to reinvigorate younger donors and bring in diverse donors. So the challenge to evolve probably every business in America, but particularly blood banking, because it's an essential utility. So much of medicine is dependent on it. We have to invent new ways to inspire people, engage people, tell the stories that we haven't told in the past. There are new indications. One of the most important things happening right now in blood banking is pre-hospital transfusion, where you go out in an ambulance or in a helicopter air ambulance and you arrive with blood and you immediately start to transfuse, and you don't get behind the curve of shock and hemorrhagic complications, coagulopathies, things that if you can get care early, you save lives. We learned that through the military. The military has been an amazing source of innovation in blood banking because they want to save their war fighters and their personnel who are often in danger and injured. They've brought that back from Afghanistan and Iraq, and if there's a silver lining to all of that for Americans, it's that we now know that putting blood in as quickly as possible is the way to save lives. We want that out in our rural communities. We want that everywhere that an ambulance goes. Wouldn't it be great if they had the life-saving capability? We've seen it on our air ambulances. They've used hundreds and hundreds of units. We're seeing it with our land ambulances in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and we would like to expand that. But right now, we don't have enough O blood to put out in all those locations. If it's not used, bring it back and then use it in trauma care.
Well, and that's a good point. That's a good point because it's still a question of volume. We need to have enough on the shelf. And you said we were at like 2,000 units. You're trying to get to 5,000 units. How if I'm sitting here and I'm sitting in Guyman, right, and I'm listening to this and I'm wondering what does a low blood count really mean in terms of availability of blood? What's it going to mean to me? So help listeners to understand why it's important that we have, a very robust supply of this and how it really does impact anyone who lives in any one of our four corners that you guys serve.
Yeah, well, blood is the underpinning of so much modern healthcare. So if you're getting chemotherapy, if you arrive in the emergency room with a trauma, if you're getting a surgery, you might not even use the unit, but it's there as a backup, a safety net. A lot of medicine would not go forward if there weren't the way to rescue somebody from a complication. Say you're having a liver biopsy, that could become a life-threatening event if for some reason an artery were nicked or something like that. So it's a safety net, not only for things like trauma and actual bleeding, but for a lot of the care, chemotherapy and other treatments that are necessary to take care of many, many conditions, many very things like liver transplants, many complicated medical conditions. It's essential for the cure and the treatment. So everybody has kind of a patient role in this. From themselves or their loved ones. Either you're a patient, you're a potential patient, a patient. We're all in the game where blood matters to good health care. What happens when you're short is people start to break down and they will cancel elective surgeries. They'll start rationing blood so that somebody who might be discharged home with high enough blood levels doesn't get to go home. They wait till a unit arrives because it's not available. And so somebody spends extra time in hospital. It's extra worry for the caregivers. They don't know if the surgery is going to go through. The patient doesn't know if the blood's going to be available. It creates all kinds of negative impacts into the healthcare environment, and it's unnecessary. Good blood supply relieves tension, stress, extra work, extra runs to the hospital. When you get short, you have to deliver smaller quantities of blood more frequently because you can't afford to keep a large stock on hand. You have to share it more. All these things are costs and they're frustrations, and they're really a challenge that's needless.
Well, and it also has the potential of really, creating challenges for quality of care that we want. I mean, in particularly in the hospital setting, right? There's so much that goes into that. If you don't have blood, then to your point, a delay in an elective procedure or a complication of emergency procedure, right? That ties to quality. So there's when we as healthcare leaders want to deliver the best care in our state, blood is probably that common denominator that flows through a lot of the care that we deliver.
Absolutely. And the hospitals have a unique role for several reasons. Not only do they see the blood at work and know how it helps healthcare, but they have more typing information than anybody probably but us. They know the blood types of moms who always get pregnant women always get typed because that's part of good healthcare. So they've got this wealth of information of who are the O negatives, who are the O positives, who might be inspired with a story of a baby who survives because maybe they've had a child themselves recently and that touches their heart. So the role of the hospital in being a partner in inspiring and explaining ECMO or some of these more complicated procedures. We're doing more ECMO in the state right now, extracorporeal.
Yep, very familiar with ECMO. Yeah, but for our listeners, I mean, it is a form of a bypass.
It's a bypass, and it's being used out of COVID. Really, a lot of lung therapy now, a lot of critical care uses that to sort of let the lungs heal, and it's become a really vibrant new
we used
area.
On neonates forever, and we see so much more utility from that.
Yep. So, but the average donor doesn't see that. They don't know that it's bypass. They don't know that it takes a unit to prime that machine. Before you can even turn it on, you have to have a donor to load up the circuit. Otherwise, it's all saline or it's all just fluid. What an amazing thing that before you can even anticipate helping, you have to have a donor usher that possibility forward. But we need to tell that story in order to take what seems like I put it in a bag and it goes somewhere. I hope I don't need to use it kind of mentality. I'm actually a first responder. When you think about a donor who's in the OR because part of them is in the OR, or they're on the site of an automobile accident because part of them is there responding and saving that life. That's the kind of inspiration that we want to partner with our hospitals and make this not an abstract, but make it a very vibrant story. And this great thing is there are many angles, whether it's what we do with a transplant, that a kidney lives for days potentially on a pump.
Right.
But that's blood from a donor that's circulating in that environment, preserving that life-saving transplant potentially. All because some donor came in and they have no clue of their impact and their importance. But we've got to tell that technical story, hopefully in a way that's relatable. The physician talking to a patient who's been the beneficiary of that brings in a depth to the story that us talking about it, even right now, it's vague. It's, everybody's picturing in their mind something.
Sure.
But let's make the immediacy come true. And, a lot of folks get concerned about HIPAA. We're very interested in protecting all that, but still pulling out the stories. We know a lot of the patients are very grateful. We've got a program called Thank the Donor. Hope all the hospitals are using it. It allows a patient or a patient family member to take the barcode, scan it, and then send a message back to the donor who gave that unit, all anonymously, all protected information, confidential. But that's the immediacy. A donor gets to see the actual person if they attach a picture or just hear the narrative text about what an impact they had. That's
and you think about that, that's incredible. Something you said earlier to me was very impactful, and that is that we're all first responders. I mean, we do have the opportunity to bring life to someone and sustain life from as simple as an outstretched arm. Right, we lift our hand out to lift somebody up. Here we're doing the exact same thing, and we have the opportunity to sustain life for someone, which in of itself is pretty amazing that we have this capability. Which gets me to this question too: when we hear about blood donation, now there's other types of blood products that we also have donations for. So for listeners that may not be aware of, traditional blood, platelets, plasma, all of this, walk us through, because I think some people think, well, if I'm doing that, I'm going to be there all day long to donate like I might with plasma or platelets, whatever. Walk us through that.
We create heroes in only an hour.
Okay, perfect. That's good to know. There you go.
The standard donation, putting about a pint of blood into a plastic bag for a dose. That's about an hour. That's called whole blood. And we then take that unit and we can make plasma from it, red cells.
So you're not coming a second time. I mean, it's all coming from the original source donation that you get.
Yeah, it's kind of like loaves and fishes. We're taking one gift and multiplying it. So that's the routine most people are used to. But then we have apheresis, which just means separation. It's a fancy Greek word. You know, those doctors are always throwing Greek.
It's all
around.
Greek to me. Yeah,
that's nicely done.
That's right.
So the machine that we have separates the blood. It's a little bit like you might think of a dialysis machine where blood comes out, it's processed and then returned. Very safe. Every kit is individual to the donor and then discarded. A well-established procedure created by a guy whose son had leukemia, and he wanted to solve the problem of more transfusion of platelets. And so platelet is a clotting fragment of a cell. It's essential for healing as well as clotting. Wonderful little critter. And so we are able to take just those out of the blood with a little bit of plasma for them to rest in, and we return your red cells. So we're able to collect more of those little platelets and return the red cells to your body, and we get a full dose from one donor as opposed to pooling, say, 5 or 6 whole blood platelets into one dose. So it's a very efficient way to target part of the blood and collect a lot of that and return the rest and maximize the gift. So, for example, if you're an AB donor, we can take just your plasma because that's the highest demand from that blood type. Or if you're an O negative, we'll take a double red cell. We'll be able to return a lot of your fluids to you and just concentrate on getting the red cell. So it's a very sophisticated way to maximize your giving, maximize your stewardship and impact, and for us to take advantage of every gift and do the most with it.
So we have O positive is the most important blood, right? That's
O positive is great. O negative is probably a little bit more in demand. Okay. It's the universal donor. It's the one that people can grab without typing the patient.
Very good.
So in an emergency, they can grab that, then they can go type the patient, and then give them A pause or whatever their blood type allows. But it's the first responder.
Universal donor is okay. O negative. Okay. And so that's what in greatest demand today. If I am a leader of an organization and I want to do a blood drive in my shop, what would be the first steps? Do you have someone on your team that we reach out to, and do you do the workplace blood collection, or do they want folks to come to the office?
Any place we can.
We used to do it in my church all the time, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
awesome.
the red bus shows up, and there you go.
Yeah. Well, we have fixed sites. We have I think 17 locations around. Where you can come and give, but we go out. Either we'll set up inside an organization, we'll bring the beds, we'll bring the history booths, we'll set up inside, or we can bring our bus. The bus is probably the lowest of those options because a lot of people are intimidated by going into a bus. They're not familiar with it. But if you're having it in the lobby of your business or in the conference room, people are aware of that space. It's one less unknown for a new donor. And we need new donors more. We love return donors, obviously, but we're struggling to build our donor base. So anything that makes it familiar and comfortable, we will go out to businesses. We try to collect a minimum of 10 units or so. So you have to have a little bit of a population or attract enough foot traffic along with your employees to create a minimally sized drive. Otherwise, we invite you to partner with us in one of our fixed locations. We can dedicate time to your business alone and have that event for you as a kind of an outreach. But one of the things employers should realize is not only does this brand your organization with the good of blood donation, which is universally good. You don't have to explain your involvement with blood donation, and we help everybody. We're not a special interest cause. We're universal. So it's one of the great attributes of blood is we can share it so widely And anybody can give if they're of age, and it's very open on both ends, open to give, open to receive. And I think that universality for an employer, you're not picking an interest group, you're helping all humanity essentially, and you're allowing people to fellowship around a good cause. So good people cluster. And if you want to give a location, a physical location to bring those people together, let them see the reinforcement of others doing the same good deed. I think socially, you're lifting us up. We need more fabric. We need more tightening of the fabric of our community. And a blood drive is this amazing little event that we host it. It's kind of like a turnkey event. We'll do all the prep. We'll bring the Nutter Butters, but you can then have your organization be this focal point for helping neighbors, whether it's your compassion, whether it's your sense of something like preparedness, the strength of the community in if we have a mass casualty. The people donating today will be the lives saved 2 days from now after the processing. But if that's your thread, if you're, maybe you've got a patriotic, a group, then we want to be there because we can take your mission, work with it, and find a place to have an event and bring those people together. We get wonderful response from military bases, for example. One of the reasons is a lot of those folks have deployed to countries that don't have a good blood supply. They've seen the damage it can have for civilian trauma, and they want to make sure that there's blood available here. So we've got many ways to connect to diverse communities, spiritual connections, you name it. We can find a way to make our cause relevant to really important values and character traits and bring those people together and celebrate us as a community and not spend time in our own individual endeavors, which we do too much of these days.
Well, it is. I mean, certainly blood is at the core, right, of sustaining a life, and the work you guys do is so important. And so we wanted to just take a moment, here at Inside the 1581 to spend a little bit of time on it. This is National Blood Month, I believe. And so we at the Inside the 1581 have been joined by the CEO of Our Blood Institute, Dr. John Armitage. And John, thanks for spending some time with us. If people want to reach out, they can reach out and say, hey, we want to donate some blood.
OBI.org is
OBI.org.
Connect with us. We have a 1-877 number, 340-8777. So we would love to.
You'll put that on the YouTube. At Alex will put that up there. We'll make sure we have that, and maybe we put a QR or something on that as well.
It's a team sport, and it's one, if you want to change the trajectory of your day, maybe you're having a bad day and you need a karmic jolt of positivity, come in, save a life. You'll walk out feeling 2 inches taller and know that you've made a difference, and a difference only a person can make for another person. There's no substitute. It takes kind-hearted people who don't want a lot of personal thank yous. We'll thank you a lot, but the patient doesn't know who you are. It's anonymous, the recipient, but it's the highest form of giving, where you give anonymously with no expectation back from the recipient, and you do something incredibly impactful. So come and have a great day. It's
life-saving. You get to be a hero and you get to be a first responder at the same time. So folks, if you have the time, swing by Our Blood Institute, any one of their locations around the country, but around the state, but certainly if you're a business leader and you have the opportunity to host an opportunity for folks to give blood at your site, we encourage you to do that. In this episode, we've been joined by Dr. John Armitage, who's the president and CEO of Our Blood Institute. As we wrap up, I just want to say thank you for joining us in this edition, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. Certainly reach out to us via any one of the modes that we deliver our podcast, whether it's through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else Alex is putting it. YouTube, too. I'm looking over at Alex on this. But we want to thank him as our producer for Inside the 1581. And we couldn't do this without our generous, incredible sponsors like Forefront Healthcare, who make this possible for us as we continue our cadence through 2026. And also our Vice President for Strategic Communications, Susie Wallace. Please make sure you do subscribe and follow us and stay up to date on every future episode. I know I drive my car and it'll pop up on the screen saying, hey, another episode's dropped. So we encourage folks to do that. And I also want to mention our music that we're using is the track Gunslinger by Ends of the Earth. We appreciate the ability to use their music. And with that, we'll see you again in 2 weeks when we have another edition of Inside the 1581. John, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for your leadership, Ray.
Well, we appreciate it. Again, thank you all for this edition of Inside the 1581.